Hey guys, it's Kevin Ismail for Sense8, Season 1, Episode 9, Death Doesn't Let You Say Goodbye. And what a sad episode, really, guys. This was a really sad episode. It was definitely different than some of the other episodes we've seen in a while, because this was definitely, I like to call kind of like the calm before the storm. You know things are going to get crazy. You know these last three episodes are going to be insane, but this episode was kind of just like setting up things, utilizing showing these characters live, showing the trauma they're going through, and I really loved that. I thought that was very well done, and it's one of the best episodes of the season. I mean, it's one of those shows where just it's so consistent. I can't pick a favorite, but this would definitely be up there with like the best ones. Really, this episode was amazing. Um, I think this really showed how great the acting is as well. I think some of the acting in this episode was some of the best we've seen on this show, and I definitely want to get into it. But let's just get into this episode because obviously there's a lot to talk about. So Riley walks along the Icelandic coast. She's singing her childhood song, and she's retracing the steps that she once took as a child. And she enters this cave, and she finds Yrsa there singing the same song. And Riley realizes, she's realizing that she's not one of the hidden people. Riley visits Yrsa at her apartment and realizes that Yrsa is a follow Sense8. Now, I pretty much predict that because I'm like, who the fuck is Yrsa? Like, how does she know her? I knew that somehow she was connected to the Sense8s, and she is a Sense8. And Yrsa serves coffee, and they talk, and it's a really great scene. Lito, meanwhile, this is probably Lito's most dramatic episode, and the first time that Lito's storyline is very depressing. I mean, most of the show, Lito's storyline has kind of been like the fun part. It's been really funny and things like that. But now that Hernando's broken up with him, Lito's kind of in this really bad state. He's at a bar. He's really depressed. He's drinking martinis. He's talking to this stranger. And the bartender eyes him, and the bartender recognizes him from a movie where he had an evil twin. And he talks about having a secret self, and he propositions Lito to go back into the room with him, and Lito angrily rejects him, and he's just saying, he's not gay and everything, and he's just so upset that he doesn't, obviously, he's got so much on his plate. I mean, think of all the stuff that Lito has on his plate right now. He has to cover up the fact that he's homosexual, his boyfriend just dumped him, he lost his, beard, the girl that could have protected him. He pretty much has just lost control of himself, and it's really sad to see. So Yrsa explains why she lied to Riley, and she talks about the BPO, which basically runs a DNA census in order to hunt down potential sensates. And we find out a lot more about the characters we've seen, like Jonas and Angelica. And Yrsa worked inside the BPO and tried to protect as many potential sensates from them as she could. Riley was one of those sensates, and Riley was brought to a BPO lab by her mother, who wanted to know if Riley had the same genetic disease that her mother had. And Yrsa saved Riley and told her she was hexed so that she would leave Iceland. And Riley is obviously pissed because all this time Riley blamed herself for the death of her mother. Now she's realizing that no, she basically sacrificed herself so that way her daughter could be safe, and Riley's really pissed at this. I mean, the thing is, though, it was meant to protect her. I can understand how upset she is, but, like, they were trying to protect her. That's really what they were trying to do. As well as the accident in the mountains. And Yrsa points out that she was one that called the rescue authorities when Riley was stranded in the mountains, which was something I was definitely interested in, is who rescued her, and now we know who it was, that it was her, and I thought that was really good. So Will then has a childhood flashback. In the flashback, he's spying on Whispers, and it's a flashback because he's in his cop uniform. We know he was just suspended from that, so you know that it's not real. And he's operating on this child, and Whispers leaves the room, and Sarah is back in the picture. And obviously, she's a big part of this because that's the only time Will's really seen Whispers, and now he's interacting with him again. He definitely is going to start to see Sarah again. And basically, Will inspects the body and sees that it's Sarah Petrell. And Sarah tells him not to look at Whispers, saying that's how he got her. And Whispers returns and chases child Will, who narrowly escapes. And then in the present, Will suddenly awakes from the dream. He gets a beer from the fridge, and it's Jonas. He sees Jonas there, and you know that Jonas is going to tell him something. And at the same time, Riley's having a conversation with Yrsa, and in this scene, we just get so much information, but I like the way they do it. They don't do it in this big reveal. Like, you'd think they would have put this at the end of the episode, but no, this is more of what the episode is. The episode is just conversations, people having conversations and just talking about stuff. It's really setting us up for the rest of the season and the rest of the show in general. So Riley's angry that Yrsa made Riley blame herself for the death of her mother as well. Oh, I just read this. So basically, Will visits Jonas's location in basically, which is a high technology medical lab, and Jonas is strapped to a chair and has electrocudes connected to his forehead. And Jonas says, "I've been unconscious so long that I could be anywhere." And Will apologizes for getting Jonas into the situation. Yurza says that she'll need to go on the run, and she basically takes a pistol out of an old box, packs it into her bag, and she says that Riley may be captured. All this information is just so new to Riley. I mean, think of everything she's told Riley. You know, she just told her that her mother wasn't her fault, that she was trying to protect her, and now she needs to go on the run. Like, it's a lot for Riley to process, obviously. So basically, if she's captured, BPO will be able to trace the connection back to Yrsa. And she says that all it would take is one slip for Riley to end up in a hospital and then be arrested. That is the impending danger that I think Capheus was talking about, was this impending danger. And basically, Yrsa says that BPO has techniques for tracing the psychocellum connection, so once they have one sensei, they can find the connected sensates. And that really has to deal with why they're all meeting up with each other, because of this connection they have, and I thought that was definitely very interesting. So Will appears saying that he knows all about BPO, and Will, Riley, Jonas, and Yrsa have a four-way conversation. Jonas cannot see Riley and Yrsa cannot see Jonas and Will, but Will and Riley can see each other, and that was really well done. So both Jonas and Yrsa do observe how Will and Riley seem to have strong feelings for each other. You can definitely tell that it's more than just friends. They definitely are, like, romantic. You can definitely tell. And this I thought was really interesting, because we know this from the first scene. Jonas remembers how he loved Angelica at first sight, and that Angelica believes the Sense8 experiences love in its purest form. And that really has to deal with two relationships, Will and Riley, and also Kala and Wolfgang. That's why they have these two connections. And Yrsa says that love in a cluster is pathological and narcissistic, and Yrsa tells Riley to ask Will his birthday, and they discover that Will and Riley both have the same birthday, August 8th, and Jonas says that all members of a cluster are born at the same moment. So basically, you can tell here that they were born at the same time. Not only were they born at the same time, but all of the other 6 Sense8s were probably born at the same time as Riley and Will. So basically, Riley mentions Jonas and Yrsa becoming immediately frightened on hearing the news, and Yrsa interrupts the conversation between Will and Riley. She interrupts this whole connection, and Jonas tells Will that he needs to get Riley out of Iceland because BPO operates a genetic research facility there, and Yrsa tells Riley that she needs to avoid Jonas, and Yrsa says that Now this is where I'm like, okay, this is gonna get very interesting, because we find out that Jonas and Angelica once worked for BPO and Whispers, which means that they hunt down Sense8s, and they would birth clusters just so that the new Sense8s could be hunted down. So Yrsa says that she's in danger because Will is connected to Jonas. So the thing is, because Will's connected to Jonas, does that mean that they wouldn't go after him? I mean, that's what I think is very interesting. I don't think Will should listen to Jonas. That's the thing, because obviously Jonas is a Sense8 hunter, and all he's going to do is lure Riley to Whispers. Obviously, that's what he's going to do, because if they worked for Whispers, now, I mean, Yrsa, I don't think knows if they're still working for Whispers or not, and we don't either, but I don't think it's safe what Riley's doing, so I don't think Will's the enemy, because, I mean, Will is just getting this information at the same time as Riley, so I'm not going to say, like, Will's the enemy or anything, but definitely I think Jonas will try to get Will to lure Riley to Whispers, and that's not going to end well at all. So we'll have to see what happens there. But that whole scene was so interesting. So much exposition in just that one scene, and I loved it, honestly. You think that'd be the end of the episode, but it's not, because the rest of the episode is all of the Sense8s getting over personal tragedies. And this whole conversation is not mentioned again in the rest of the episode, which I really do like, because it's just showing that, okay, this is what we're got to prepare for. That's kind of like the prologue to the rest of the season. This is what the episode really is, because Wolfgang sits over Felix in the hospital. This is the first episode of why where Wolfgang and Kala don't have an interaction. In fact, there aren't many Sense8 visits in this episode because it focuses more on all their personal tragedies, which I personally really did enjoy. So Wolfgang sits over Felix in the hospital, and Wolfgang's uncle comes in and talks about Wolfgang's father. And his uncle says that when Anton was killed, he only wanted revenge, and he tells Wolfgang that he must realize that his theft was a mistake and can go no further. So basically, that theft that he did was a one-time thing, and if he does it again, he's gonna end up like his father, and that I think is definitely very interesting. And I think definitely this is gonna get Wolfgang to think, I gotta go to India, because if he goes to India, he could be a lot safer than he is right now. I mean, what it's kind of seemed like they're saying is that you're not safe here. You know, if you continue the path you're going, you're gonna get killed. So I'm thinking Wolfgang's gonna try to go to India, and we're gonna see what happens there. That definitely is what I think is gonna happen. So Kala and her family are at the police office, and Kala's giving her statement on Papa Jai's attack. She, of course, has no idea why he was killed, and they ask what Kala and Papa Jai were talking about during the attack, and she does not fully answer. Obviously, she doesn't want to just say, oh, he didn't want me to marry Rajan. She's not going to say that. So she asked Rajan if she feels she is responsible for his death, and he said he basically, we then see they go away, and Rajan and Kala have this really good conversation. This really shows how much Rajan cares about Kala, because she asks him straight out, does he feel she's responsible for his death? And he said he had so many death threats already and had no business being there. So basically, he'd die already no matter what, and he assures her that she did nothing wrong. And I kind of feel like Kala, though, kind of feels like she did do something wrong, because in many ways, you know, she knows that she really doesn't love Rajan. She loves Wolfgang, and I think really what she's thinking is because of her interacting with Wolfgang, is this why this happened? I think that definitely is very interesting. So in prison, Sun, who has one scene in the episode, that's how different this episode is. Sun literally has one scene, which I was fine with. Her father visits her, and he has not slept since the arrest. Now, you can tell that she probably doesn't really want to see her father right now. Now, I was thinking maybe her father was going to try to bail her out, or I was really wondering what was going to happen here. But basically, he says that his wealth is meaningless without his daughter, and he plans to tell the truth. And that I thought was really interesting, because that's what got them into this mess. And him telling the truth, I think, is really going to change things for Sun, because obviously she's not happy in prison. She owned this huge company, and now they're losing all this money. And I talked about this. They're losing all this money now, and it's really their fault. I like that her father's going to try to do things right, but this is definitely going to put her brother in danger, and we're going to have to see what happens with that, because that definitely is going to be very interesting. So we'll have to see if she actually lets him tell the truth or not, because knowing Sun, I feel like she's not going to let him. We'll have to see what happens, though. So, Lito visits a museum looking at Hernando's favorite piece of artwork. It's a very sad scene. He has flashbacks to Hernando talking, and he talks about how love is like art and everything. It's a really sweet scene. I definitely enjoyed it, but it was really sad at the same time, because it's just like he's thinking about what his life was like, and that's not what his life is now. He's all depressed and everything. I really felt bad for Lito in this episode, I have to say. It was definitely a very sad moment. So Nomi's back in her apartment cleaning the mess, and Nomi visits Lito at the museum, and she talks about how she was almost killed. And basically, I really love this scene between them, because again, we don't get many Sense8 connections in this episode. Will and Riley, Nomi and Lito, and then one other one that I will talk about, but Lito tells Nomi about the Diego de Rivera Museum, and Lito talks about his breakup with Hernando, and Lito says that he is a coward for breaking up with him. And I can kind of see Lito's point, but I mean, the thing is, he's kind of being a coward in the sense that he doesn't want to come out, and obviously he's not going to tell her that he's homosexual. He's not going to tell anybody that. I mean, she knows, obviously, that he's homosexual. But the thing I found very interesting about this whole thing is that he really is the one that's kind of at fault here, because all of this occurred because Lito doesn't want anyone to know that he's a homosexual. That's why this occurred, and I don't think Lito's really recognizing that, and I think that definitely is very interesting that Lito doesn't really feel he's at fault here. It's understandable. I understand that, like, he knows what the risk could be and things like that, but a lot of things could have been prevented had Lito just come out and say the truth. I mean, Daniela wouldn't be with Anton right now. Him and Hernando wouldn't have broken up. Like, a lot of stuff wouldn't have happened if Lito would have just told the truth, which I think is really interesting. And a lot of this show deals with that, like Sun's storyline deals with that. That's something I think Kala's storyline, I mean, a lot of this very interesting stuff. So, Lito recounts how he used to listen to Hernando talk about art for hours, and he has this flashback to their first kiss in the museum bathroom, and Lito also performed, Lito also, gave him a blowjob and things like that. It's a really sweet scene. I definitely like that because you see the connection they had and why they were together. And Nomi then relates to the power of a kiss, and she says there's a difference between what we work for and what we live for. And I see where she's coming from with that, because she tells this story, and this just made me care about Nomi's character so much more, because she tells the story of when she was Michael, and her father forced her to join the swim club when she was 8. She wasn't comfortable with her body. She showered with clothes on. She wasn't comfortable with being, in a man's body. She wanted to be a woman, obviously. And one day the other boys ganged up on her and held her in front of her burning hot shower water. It is, oh my god, I have never seen, kids are cruel, but like, that's just taking it to a whole other level. Like, I don't think kids would ever do something like that. And they turned the water on full blast, like as hot as it can possibly get. It's pretty insane, and I was surprised these kids would actually think of doing something that cruel. It was pretty, it sickened me. It was really disturbing, and was really sad as well, though, because, she talks about she still has these permanent scars, and Lito reacts angrily to flashbacks, saying that she says that that moment made her the woman she is. That's the moment that she realized that she didn't want to be a man, she wanted to be a woman, and I thought that was really good. So, when she decided that she didn't want to be one of the guys, and I just thought that was a really great scene. I really love them talking, and I definitely really like that. So Kala visits with Papa Jai and Rajan's mother at the hospital, and Rajan's mother says that Papa Jai does not normally let her pray, and she asks Kala to pray with her. And basically, it was a sweet scene. I definitely enjoyed that scene. I thought that was really good because, obviously she needed someone there for her, so I like that Kala helped her out with that, and I thought that was a sweet scene. So Saven and Riley pull up to a graveyard by the sea, and Riley visits the graves of Magnus, her deceased husband, and Luna, her child, who we haven't heard anything about, and I like that we found this out, because she apologizes to the graves for not seeing them sooner. She has a flashback of Magnus riding a horse indoors to pick up Riley from school, and in the flashback, Riley has straight brown hair, and at the grave, she says, Mia's here with you, and it's a really sweet scene. We haven't heard anything about her deceased husband and child, but it makes sense about a lot of the decisions that Riley has made. I mean, she's had to do a lot. Obviously, she needed the money. She had that really bad job. She got herself caught up in all this crazy gangster shit. I mean, it's understandable why she did what she did, and I like that they're starting to explain that. That's something I thought was really good in this episode. So, at her apartment, Nomi hears someone opening the door. She doesn't know what to think, obviously, because every time someone opens the door now, it seems like someone's attacked. And she grabs a knife, but luckily it's just Amanita. She cries and they hug. It's a really sweet reunion. And it's really sweet how Amanita's always there for. That's something I always love in the show, how Amanita, despite whatever crazy shit not Riley, despite no matter what crazy shit Nomi's involved in, she always tries to help her out, and I think that's awesome. She's probably like the best lesbian girlfriend I've seen portrayed on television, honestly. So in Nairobi, Capheus enters his bus and sees Riley in the back seat. Capheus says that he has been wishing that this day would never come, and as the Iceland graves, Riley says that she never went to the funeral, and Capheus asks if she said goodbye, and she answers, death doesn't let you say goodbye, and that's true. When you have death, like, you want to say goodbye, but it's kind of just too late, because you have those memories, and you always think of, like, those last words, and I thought it was really interesting the way they did that, and Capheus tells a story of his sister. Capheus' mother and him are walking around the jungle with the newborn sister. He says that they didn't have any food. They hand over the baby to a local children's home, and he says it was the hardest thing he's ever had to do, because obviously they didn't have, we know that Capheus, they're not the most fortunate. They didn't have a lot of money, and unfortunately, because of them not having that money, they had to give his sister up. And you see how big of it is, how much this impacted him. And I just thought that was a really great scene. I really loved the flashbacks in this episode, I have to say. It wasn't really something I was expecting, but I really enjoyed it. It really furthered the characters, and I definitely enjoy seeing, Capheus' story. And because these characters are so good and so interesting, I think that's why the flashbacks worked as well as they did. So, Cathia says that life and death are mixed, and that some endings are beginnings, and I really do agree with what he's saying, that, you end one chapter of your life, you go on to the next chapter. Like, for example, Cathius, he's ended the whole job. He's beginning his life over again. I do agree with what he says in that, and I think that was a really great scene. Just finding out what Cathius had to do and how he can relate to Riley, what happened to her. Not exactly, but I thought that was a really great scene. I really enjoyed that. So Nomi and Amanita relax in bed and wear cookies as if they were rings, and Amanita asks if they're safe in their apartment, and Nomi says that she used Will's badge number to file a police report saying that Nomi was seen on a flight to Australia, so that way they can't get to her. And I thought that was really smart of Nomi, because obviously they're not going to get to her. They're going to go to Australia. My worry is that somebody is going to go to Australia and they're going to end up dead or something. I honestly feel like that's what's going to happen here, because they're going to find her. Obviously, Whispers, they're going to come after her, and we're going to have to see what happens with that, because that definitely, I think, is very interesting, what Nomi said. Definitely, that was very interesting. So, Lito's back in his apartment, and we probably get the best acting, I think, from Lito's. Whoever plays Lito, best acting from Lito by far in this scene. I love this scene. He's back in his apartment, he's moping, it's near sunset, he eats ice cream and stands by the patio ledge. He repeatedly is calling Hernando's phone, but only reaches his voicemail. He's not answering. He gets drunk on blended drinks. This continues until nighttime, with Lito getting more and more distraught and desperate, and they have this great song playing background. By the way, there was this great part of the episode where they just started playing Mad World as, like, the background music. Really good for this episode. Honestly, it fits really well with the characters. I think that's something that the Wachowskis do very well, is pick the music for this show. They pick the perfect music for this show. Really, they do, honestly. I think that's one of the best things about the show is the music that they pick. It's always perfect. Basically, we see that this continues until nighttime, with Lito getting more and more distraught. He moves from depression into acceptance, and he's kind of going through the stages of death, because if you remember, if you know the stage of death, agony, bargain, depression, denial, and acceptance. Those are like the 5 stages of death. He's kind of going through that. Obviously, I honestly thought they were going to kill off Lito's character in this scene. I really thought this was what was going to happen here. And he's saying that he let Hernando down and he let Daniela down. And he's, accepting the fact that this is his fault. And in many ways, it is. And he tells Hernando's voicemail he has many voices in his head, but Hernando is the only one he can't live without. And the call ends as Hernando's mailbox is full, and he's just left him so many messages. He's just done. He places a gun in his mouth, pulls the trigger, and I honestly thought they were going to kill him off, but then we realized that a small flame appears, and it's only a lighter. It's not even real. Like, that's how bad his life is right now. He wants to kill himself, but he can't do it because the gun's fake, and he says that everything in his life is a fake, and all that he knows how to do is lie, and that's how the episode ends. And really sad note, but honestly, I thought it worked really well with Lito's character, and I really hope that Lito tries to find a way to fix this with Hernando. I don't know if Hernando's really going to talk to him, but I feel like now Lito's going to realize that he needs to come out, because that's the only way he can get himself out of this. If he comes out, then Daniela won't have to be with Anton. Hernando will come back, because obviously he was gone because the lie they were, saying wasn't working, so he can come back, and that'll all work out for them. So I really feel like this is going to fix a lot of things for Lito if he just comes out, and I know it's going to be hard for him, but I feel like that really is what Lito has to do at this point, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what's going to happen here. Now, let's talk about this whole Whispers situation with Angelica and Jonas, because obviously Yurza said that Riley can't trust Will right now. Will, I feel, is going to be, lured to getting Riley to be held by Whispers. However, do we know that Jonas is still that way? I mean, Yurza is an old woman, and Jonas isn't exactly old, so maybe Jonas isn't bad. I'm not really sure. We'll have to see what's going on with that, but definitely that's very interesting. If he's still working for Whispers, that could be very interesting. We'll have to see what happens with that. Riley is definitely going to end up in danger. We'll have to see what happens with that whole situation, but Riley is definitely going to end up in danger, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing where that goes as well, because seeing Riley's, inner turmoil and everything she's been through, just to see her go through more, I mean, now that we know what she's been through, just to see her go through that whole conversation, I mean, we had to see that scene because it showed us how much she's been through and why she's so pissed at Yurza, and I thought that was a great scene. I really enjoyed seeing that. Now we know everything Riley's been through. Um, this whole thing though with Will and Riley, do they like each other? Do they have a connection? Obviously, she needs to stay away from him, but we'll have to see what happens. I mean, is Will going to maybe turn to working with Whispers? I could honestly see it happening, and that could be really interesting if they did that. We'll have to see what they do with that. Wolfgang, obviously, his father, obviously his uncle said that he needs to, move on and not be in this business anymore. So do you think that Wolfgang is going to decide, I'm going to get the hell out of here and go to India just so he can move on with his life? Because obviously he's probably going to listen to what he said to him. I'm not going to think that Wolfgang's just going to not listen to what he said. He's probably going to, and I'm pretty much thinking that Wolfgang's probably going to leave Berlin and go to India, because that's really the only way he can start this next chapter of his life. Kala, I think she definitely is gonna confess what happened, everything, and find out why what happened, because that definitely is gonna be very interesting. So I'll see what happens with that. Let's talk about Sun, because obviously her father wants to tell the truth, and is Sun gonna let him? I mean, Sun obviously is regretting what she did, but is she really gonna let him tell the truth and put her brother in jail? We'll have to see, because obviously Sun knows what it's like to go through prison, and I feel like she would want the same thing happen to her brother, so we'll have to see what happens with that. That definitely is gonna be very interesting. Nomi, again, I know that she tried to save herself by putting herself in Australia, but I really feel like someone's going to end up there, and they're going to die, and we'll have to see. I definitely feel like someone's going to end up in Australia. I don't know who, but I feel like someone's going to end up there. It seemed like something they're foreshadowing. Lito, as I said, he needs to come out, really. He needs to come out. We'll have to see what happens with that, and it's going to save a lot for him. Cavius, we really didn't get much with in this episode other than him talking with Riley, which I was fine with. I really did love that scene between him and Riley, though I thought that was definitely a very good scene, and I definitely really enjoyed that. Yeah, this was a very different kind of episode. It was a much more calmer episode, but as I said, it's really the calm before the storm. They've set up so much for these final 3 episodes, and that's perfect. I mean, the way they set up all... Basically, it was kind of like, here's what's going to happen in the final 3 episodes, along with some very important pieces of information that will make you care about the characters more. That's really what this episode was, and I was fine with that, because now we have this whole thing with Sun. We know a lot more about the Sense8s and Will and Riley, which I think is definitely going to be very interesting to see how that all goes down. I'm pretty sure that Riley's going to try to avoid Will, while Will's going to try to pursue Riley, and I don't think Will thinks that anything of it. I don't think he really thinks it's wrong what he's doing. He doesn't realize what's going to happen. That's going to be very interesting. The whole situation with Hernando and Lito, I mean, Lito basically wanting to end his life, that definitely is going to get very interesting to see. I don't think Leo's going to die. I feel like he's going to realize that he needs to come out. That's really what's going to happen here, is that they're going to be, he's going to have a visit by one of the Sense8s, and they're going to talk to him about it. So we'll have to see what happens with that. That's going to be very interesting as well. Wolfgang, I like that they set that up. I thought that was definitely very good, and just the way they set up all the story arcs and made this episode a lot more emotional really made us care more about the characters, and it definitely was more of a character study. I've talked about this before. The show is not just about the Sense8s. Yes, that's something we want to see, but I feel like this show is a lot more about the characters and just the interactions they have and the connections and the emotional trauma and how everything that's happened to them affects them. This episode showed that very well, and that's something I thought was really good. And as I said, this is definitely up there with the best episodes of the show. And also, this episode convinced me that a lot of these actors need to get Emmy nominated. I'm sorry, they do. I'm going to look for their names right now, but a lot of them really do have to get Emmy nominations. I don't care what you have to do. Just get them fucking Emmys. I don't care what you have to do. Especially Miguel Angel Silverstreet as Lito. He definitely needs to get an Emmy for his performance in this episode. He was incredible. And also that great scene, Tumbins Middleton as Riley. You can't help but love that. And also, guys, there was a Sense8 live stream today that I was watching. So Hopefully that's a good sign that there's a season 2. I swear to God there's better be a season 2. I did go on Netflix, Wikipedia, and they said there's going to be a Sense8 season 2, but there's no official confirmation. So I hope that there's a season 2. We'll see if there is, but we have 3 episodes left, and I am really upset because I don't want to stop watching this show. I'm addicted to, as you guys can tell. I mean, I review like 3 episodes a day, so what do you expect? But I just fucking love this show. I love every minute of it. I can't wait for these last 3 episodes. They're going to be absolutely amazing. The action is definitely going to come back, and I really am looking forward to that. But that's basically my review. Hope you all enjoyed. Let me know what you guys thought of this episode. Overall, guys, one of the best episodes of the season by far. Really, really loving this show. Did you like how this episode was a lot more exposition and not a lot of action? It's not that you guys know I love the action in the last episode. I thought the action was absolutely spectacular in the last episode, the way they handled it. I thought it was very well done. It's just now we know why certain things are happening. We know why Whispers are targeting them. We know what's at stake here, and that's something I think is really good to set up for the final 3 episodes. But that's basically my review. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you guys in my next video, which we're going to review for tonight's episode of Mr. Robot, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.